The British government have announced a special EV tax for special people like me. I'm going to be charged 3p a mile to drive my EV. Well, at least we think that's how it's going to work, because the government have now published their consultation as to how they are proposing to make this 3p a mile scheme actually work. Well, I'm going to give you the details, and then I'm going to tell you why it's not going to happen. Hello again, YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. And I have to admit, I was slightly blown away by the response to the last video that I did about this 3p a mile proposal, because honestly, the number of comments that I had on that were absolutely crazy. I've had more than 1,000 of you talking about what you think. And it's got to be said, there's an awful lot of very smug-looking petrol and diesel drivers out there who are going, ha 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 ha, you're going to pay a tax and I'm not going to pay. Well, there is actually a bit of a joke here, but the joke is on you guys, because you are already paying more tax than I'm going to be paying if this thing comes in. And again, it is not going to happen the way that they're describing it. And I'm going to tell you now what they're planning, okay? And then you can have a think about whether you want to laugh and embarrass yourselves and show that you can't add, right? You can't add if you're going, ha, 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 because your tax is more than my tax. Anyway, the details. And detail is important, because when it comes to policy, okay, actually putting things in place, then it has to be workable, it has to be practicable, it has to be something that they can actually execute, okay? And so many times we see this with politicians of any party coming up with a whole load of stuff, slogans written in crayon that cannot possibly work in the real world. And I do believe that the proposed 3p a mile is one of those, okay? And I'm going to tell you now why that is. So the government are intending that this is going to come into place in April 2028, so 2.5 years from today. And at the moment, it is just a proposal. And they have published a really rather long document to describe what the plan is. In summary, they think that EV drivers are going to self-declare the miles that they are doing, and then once a year, we're going to go and have a special MOT, or what I lovingly describe as the naughty boy check, where they make sure that you're not lying, and then they are going to make sure that you've paid enough taxes. Does that sound crazy? Because it certainly does to me. Because here's the point. At the moment, if you buy a litre of petrol or a litre of diesel, you are paying 52.95 pence in fuel duty, in tax, okay? 53p of your litre is tax. And even better, the duty is VATable. So you are paying 52.95 pence plus then 20% on top of that. So if you were to take an average petrol car doing 40 miles per gallon, you're paying basically 7p a mile, 6.5p a mile. It depends on what kind of fuel economy you get from whatever car it is, but somewhere around that territory. And you're already paying that. You don't know that you're paying it because it's just part of the cost of filling up. But more than half of the 135 a litre that I've just seen as I was driving past is paid in tax of some kind. So if you work out what your miles per gallon are in your petrol or diesel car, you're already paying a lot more per mile than is proposed on this EV tax. And that is the first point that the government make with this, that they're trying to make it fair and they still want to encourage people to take up EVs. Okay, fine, I appreciate that, thanks. But how is it going to work in the real world? And they're creating a thing called EVED, which isn't the thing you contract from parking in the wrong lay-by, okay? EVED is basically electric vehicle excise duty. Now, for me, that is already a problem because it's confusing the two different kinds of taxes, because everybody pays vehicle excise duty. It used to be called the tax disc or road tax or whatever you want to call it. everybody pays that. And then you also have fuel duty, which is paid per litre, as I've just been describing. So the government are concerned that EV drivers like me aren't paying per litre because we're not buying litres, but then they're creating a new tax to replace it, which confuses it with vehicle excise duty. So already up here, it's a problem. So the idea is that at the moment, when you tax your car, you have to go onto your computer and put your details in, and it tells you how much VED you have to pay, and then you pay them the money. What they're proposing is that EVED is going to be done on the same kind of basis. You put your details into the computer, and then this is the exciting bit. You are going to tell them how many miles you're going to do in a year. So let's say you're going to do 10,000 miles in a year. At 3p, that means you owe them 300 quid. And the government wants its money. Give me the money, please. £300. Now, according to the consultation, they're going to give you an option. You can pay all of the money up front, or you can pay in installments. So basically, you can go out there and pay every single month for miles that you drive. That's what they're thinking. And it gets better. Because they want you to pay up front, you are then going to have your mileage checked, because they don't believe you. They think you might be out there lying. So naughty, naughty, naughty EV driver has to go and get their mileage checked. Now, what they've said is they want to combine the new tax with all of the existing systems and providers that they have already got. So when you go to get your MOT done, so if you're outside the UK, a car over 3 years old has to go and get a mechanical and electrical check once a year to make sure that it's still roadworthy. But it's after 3 years. What the government are proposing is that naughty EV drivers will have to go and get their car checked every year. So at the end of the first year of ownership, you have to go and turn up to your local MOT station. And by the way, the government will be paying the bill for this bit. But you turn up to your MOT station and they pull your details up on the computer. And I'm hoping someone will print it out and put it on a clipboard just to make it nice and officious. And they're going to say, well, you said you were going to do 10,000 miles a year. And I can see, oh, you've only done 8,900. So that's 1,100 miles you haven't done. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you've done 1,100. No, maybe you've done 11,100 miles. So you've gone 1,100 over what you said. Oh dear, you've gone further than you said, you naughty person. Either way, the way the government are proposing this is going to work is after you've done your naughty boy check and they've put all the details into the computer, then there is going to be a reconciliation. How many miles have you done versus how many miles you said you were going to do? And they're either going to be, give us the money, or they're going to be, oh, you have got some credit. You have accrued some credit, which will then roll over into the next year that you're doing this. Are you following this? It is complex as hell. It really is. They have completely lost their minds on this one with how they think the real world actually goes. Even better is the document talks about different methods of enforcement and of appeals and going and getting the mileage changed. Because let's say that you've prepaid for 10,000 miles, okay? But then something happens. I don't know, maybe you've crashed the car and it spends 3 months waiting for parts and you're not driving it. Maybe your great auntie Mabel is ill and you're spending all your time looking after her. Whatever it is, they're then proposing that you're going to be able to go and speak to the bureaucrats, presumably starting with a computer, but you'll need an actual person at the other end to sit there and assess your case and say, oh yes, I can see you said 10,000 miles and now you're saying you only need 6. So that means we need to refund you for 4,000 miles, right? Okay. It's just stupid. It is completely stupid. And my question to the government is this: how much money is all of that going to cost? Okay? Because what it sounds like is an army of bureaucrats and whole systems being set into place, and then people having to go and check this number against that number and that number against this number, and then trying to work out how much money people owe. How much does that cost to administer? Because if you're not raising money because you're spending all of it on raising money, what is the point? And it gets worse, because if you drive abroad, then they're saying that We want the money anyway. Okay, so let's assume that you're one of the people who lives in Northern Ireland and you do crisscross the border. All of the miles that you do in the Republic of Ireland, the government are saying, gives the money. Now, the argument they're making is that, well, if it was petrol or diesel, then you would have filled up in the United Kingdom and therefore we would have had our money, and so we want our money. But I just don't think that's true at all. And here's the thing. If you go and take the car to France or Spain or Italy or wherever, and you're probably going to do quite a few miles abroad, you would fill the car up on the continent. And this is always the way that it's been because of cheaper fuel, especially in France and Spain and whatever. You are not going to fill your tank with electrons, okay, or petrol or diesel or whatever, and exclusively use that while you're abroad. You're going to be paying another government's taxes on fuel. The British government seem to think that for an EV, no, you're going to pay twice. You're going to pay the French government or the Spanish government, and you're going to pay us as well. Well, all I can say is I can see the court case now. There is no way that this is going to actually stand up. So at the moment, they are proposing an army of bureaucrats. They are proposing a whole load of checks, and you've got to go out there and confess how many miles and things you're going to do. Am I actually going to be able to see shit, or are we going to be stuck with this behind me? Hang on. Let me... is that better? Sorry, everybody. I just noticed that the sun was starting to, make a mess of itself. So let's shove that back out of the way. So here's the problem. You're going to have an army of bureaucrats having to go there checking and cross-checking and rechecking all of these numbers, which in itself costs a load of money. And you've got the double taxation thing where you pay us and then you pay somebody else. I cannot see how that is going to get past the proposal stage, which is why I'm saying it's not going to happen. Not like this. It just can't happen because administratively it's bloody stupid. And there's no other way to describe it. They are absolutely crackers if they think that this is something that's actually going to work. Here's the impact that it's going to have on people. If it really is genuine paper mile like this, it's just going to put people off buying an EV. Because from a maths perspective, it doesn't matter that the 3p a mile that's being proposed is a lot less than the 6.5, 7p a mile that petrol people are already paying. Because they don't notice that they're paying that, whereas you will notice that you're paying this. And they've said that the EV-ED rate will go up with inflation. And I saw in quite a few of the comments people going, you're going to be paying more. Well, boys, you're going to be paying more with petrol and diesel taxes as well. At the moment, there's a 5p discount, which ends in April. So that's going to go up to from 52.95 to 57.95, and then it's going to go up with inflation as well. So you are going to be paying more tax as well. You're just not going to notice because it's just going to be in the price of petrol. And that got me thinking. How can they fix this? Because you are going to see a nosedive in EV sales, both new and especially used. The value of your EV is going to drop, and I suspect it's going to drop quite sharply because of this guff that Rachel Reeves has proposed. Right? It's a real problem now for the industry, and that is why it will not happen, because the industry is going to fight back and say this is doing damage. Because don't forget that by 2030 you will not be able to buy a pure petrol or diesel car. It will be banned in the UK. You will only be able to buy used ones. So if you want a new car, it will have to be electric or full hybrid. And of course, they're taxing both of those. So I understand why they've got to tax something. And for the people in the comments who were saying, I can't believe you were so stupid as to think you were going to get away with this forever, I didn't think that at all. I've actually made 2 videos to this already, and in the first one I said I thought road pricing was inevitable. I have no problem with the idea of paying. My issue is the way that they're doing it, not the idea of paying. So I've never thought that I should be a freeloader, ever. And I have said so, and the people who are just doing the clickbaity, shouty, ranty comments might want to stop and think before making idiots of themselves for everybody's entertainment on my forum. So here is how I think the government should do it, okay? And this is where it really could work. There is something in the document where They say that, look, declaring your mileage is something that everybody is used to because you have to declare your mileage to your insurer. And that is the point. You absolutely do. You have to tell your insurer how many miles a year you think you're going to do, because your premium, the amount of insurance you have to pay, will increase or decrease depending on risk. And part of the way they assess risk is how many miles are you doing. So if that's already happening, if you already have to tell somebody how many miles you're doing, why on earth does the government want to set a whole new system up? Just get the insurance companies to collect the money. Because at the moment, the insurance company is already collecting money for the government in the form of insurance premium tax. So in the UK, when you buy car insurance, right, whether you use the meerkats or not, but when you buy car insurance, 20% is insurance premium tax, which is collected by the insurer and given to the government. So if you're a canny politician and you need to go out there and raise some money, you can't do it precisely per mile because the administration cost is astronomical and the impact on people psychologically is really bad. But you still can raise most of the money, because let's say, again, we gave an example earlier, 10,000 miles a year, so 300 quid please. It's very simple. You put 10,000 miles a year onto your insurance quote and the price goes up by 300 quid and the government takes the 300 quid off the insurance company. That's how they should do it. Get the insurance company to collect the money, because every single one of us has to tell the insurance company how many miles that we're doing. And here is the point. You can't really lie on that, because if you say, oh, I only do 5,000 miles a year, but you're doing 20,000 miles a year and you crash and your car insurer finds out that basically you've been telling porky pies, then they're probably not paying because you've not been telling them the truth. So you have to tell mostly the truth. And this is the point. The government would get most of the money. It might be that you've gone, I don't know, 1,000 or 2,000 miles over or something like that. But yeah, look, you're going to get most of the cash. People hate insurance companies. People blame the insurance company for the price of their premium as it is. So why on earth aren't the government just putting more of the blame onto the insurance companies? Get the insurance companies to take the rap. Oh, my premium's gone up by 300 quid. Yes, it has, because of this new electric car duty that we're having to levy. But hey, you don't care. You're blaming Direct Line, or you're blaming the meerkats, or you're blaming whoever your insurer is, right? It's their fault. It's not the government's fault. So from a psychological perspective, it's not pay per mile anymore, even though the amount they're collecting is based on the amount of miles that you're doing. If they did it that way, then you don't have this ridiculous thing where people are saying that petrol is cheaper than EV, even though it isn't, right? You can avoid that completely. You avoid the stigma of having to go and take your car for the naughty boy test, where they check that you haven't been lying to them. We can avoid all of that completely. Stick it on the insurer. What do you think? I'm going to shut up now and go away, but what do you think? How can they actually make this work? And here's the point. I will put a link in the comments to the consultation, because if you drive an EV, you can have your say. If you hate EVs and you drive a petrol car, you can have your say. There is a link. You can put your information in and you can tell them how they should do the thing. So there is still time to get this changed, and I am certain that it will change, because what has been proposed is just absolute gibberish. Okay, put it on the insurance companies instead. No one's going to be happy, but everyone's just going to blame the insurance companies, and even the insurance companies can't complain that badly because they're used to being hated, because they're insurance companies. They know that we hate them, so what does it matter? Stick it onto them. And one final point, talking about sticking it onto them, I do want to talk about my Movember moustache, because Movember is now over. I'm actually recording this on the last day of November. And I just want to say a huge and profound thank you to everybody who has donated to Movember, whether you've donated to my Movember space or anybody else's, okay? Thank you so much. I've raised more than 1,000 quid with this thing, which gives me a little bit of comfort, because actually it's a bit itchy and horrible. I don't want a moustache, but I've grown it for charity and everyone's been very generous. So I just want to say thank you, genuinely thank you. I've talked about mental health. It's something that's really important to me. This has given me some focus. So thanks everybody. And there it is, the end of this video. Let's have more of a debate, right? Let's have the people whining, going, you're only going to have to pay this and I'm not. Please, make a tit of yourself again. It's funny. In a future video, we are going to start doing some more comparison costs, because some people said, you're not talking about depreciation. Well, no, I'm not, because depreciation affects everything. And you're not talking about the cost of charging. Well, no, we're talking about tax. That's what we're talking about, tax. Yeah. If you want a video talking about the comparative cost of everything, then no problem. The sad thing is that it's still cheaper for an EV, even after all of this. But I will shoot that video for you. So if you want to see that, make sure that you click the subscribe button so that you know when my next videos drop. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now before she puts a tax on talking heads. I bet she will. I will see you back here very soon on Just Get a Tesla.